Welcome everyone there out there in the internet. Welcome to our weekly Computer Chronicles edition of latest and greatest security vulnerabilities, and certainly with this analog virus stuff there going around in the world, certainly also very important to keep up to date with what digital threats we are facing and digital viruses, malware and security vulnerabilities here on a weekly basis. Became aware of a limited targeted Windows 7 based attack and could leverage unpatched vulnerability in Adobe's Type Manager library. I slightly wonder why they write here Windows 7. I think it affects all system, remote code execution a little bit. Yeah, starting to write the text so that it sounds like Windows 7 based. But anyway, following guidance to help reduce customers' risk until the security update is released. Also here, welcome to 2020. Actively exploited allegedly remote code execution Windows. But hey, we have no patch yet, but you can follow maybe manually this guideline on all your PCs and maybe try to mitigate this a little bit. But yeah, nothing too new. Fun fact, so yeah, disabling multiple ways to attacker could exploit the vulnerability is convince user to open special crafted document or viewing it in the Windows preview pane. And the good news is Microsoft is aware of the vulnerability and working on a fix. So yeah, so much to that. But of course, recurring theme here also I don't know what is the latest and greatest with it, but there's also you have a kernel, you have a potentially Windows NT, somewhat little bit microkernel, at least more than other systems. And then Windows NT 3 was more microkernel than graphic performance in the 90s was too low. They moved the graphic subsystem back into the kernel because that's what you're not doing in your microkernel for performance. And with that also the font parsing. So in the past they also have been previewed or clicked upon and use this to intrude into your system and get some data or encrypt everything for some ransomware. Let's see, welcome everyone in the audience. Should not be as complex and crafted the problem with so many vintage font formats. Of course, this is also Adobe, the company not known for the best security. So usually Acrobat and Flash and all the other Adobe products, weekly security stuff, and a lot of Adobe stuff has a lot of historic craft. So maybe they even have licensed it and it's Adobe's code there, wouldn't surprise me. But the problem is certainly that fonts are rather complex, and the usual thing, recurring theme here on this and my main channel, don't do this stuff in C, all the complex structures of true type fonts. Maybe we do it here once in depth on this or the other channel to implement this ourselves without font config or something. And yeah, certainly relatively complex data structures and handling this all in C, certainly. Yeah. By the way, I hope the stream is not too broken. I already tunneled through some VPN, but whatever. In a little bit better news, Bethesda apparently broke its own Denuvo protection for Doom Eternal. Yay, DRM, although the publisher didn't want this, but this is also how you can do DRM-free gaming. Launched version includes DRM-free executable in folder named original. Certainly. This is a happy face palm of yes, achievement well unlocked. That's certainly how they should do it. So yeah, all the efforts in making it harder for normal people to play it with all the DRM stuff that could potentially not run on Linux Wine or in a future version of Windows as usual, ruining the experience for the normal users, and the hackers and crackers not only remove all this garbage, but also, hey, there is a DRM-free copy for you to just play. So yeah, cool stuff. Only topped by having a debug executable for people with other more professional software to have a debuggable version in a debug folder. That is certainly also pretty amazing on security related or otherwise proprietary products. In similar news, Windows, Ubuntu, macOS, VirtualBox all fall at Pwn2Own hacking contest. Team Floor whatever wins fourth tournament in a row. This time, of course, virtual due to the analog virus spreading here. So 2020 spring edition of Pwn2Own hacking contest came to close there this week. And yeah, of course, recurring theme here, all the targets hacked wide open. All bugs, of course, exploited during the contest were immediately reported to the respective companies, but recurring theme here, stuff is pretty broken, and how much companies want to tell you, hell, our C, Objective-C and C++ code is amazingly bug-free, and yeah, meet those security researchers and yeah, exploit they Apple Safari with macOS kernel escalation privileges. So yeah, $70,000. If you were wondering what pays better than our unsuccessful one-man distribution, source distributions, then probably I should also go hunting security vulnerabilities. Targeted Windows with a local privilege escalation, $40,000, 4 points, master of Pwn2Own. Targeted Ubuntu, so that's probably potentially what have they done, say improper input validation bug to escalate privileges. Wonder slightly what this is, but probably we will see another day. And also Microsoft Windows in use after free, all the recurring bugs here of, yeah, why you don't want to write this in C, because bounce checking off by a little bit and use after free, the usual stuff. And virtualization category, Oracle's VirtualBox, in my opinion, VirtualBox previous live stream, and yeah, the code not the most impressed of VirtualBox, don't run it personally because code quality. As far as I remember, back from the top of my head, VirtualBox in the past, like years ago, was even loading untrusted code into the kernel space for acceleration. So yeah, not sure if they fixed this or how they fixed this in the meantime, but anyway. So as usual, in case you're wondering what of the stuff is more secure or not, stuff is not the most secure as per usual. Speaking about what do you want, what do you not want right now, with all the people sitting at home doing home office and conferencing and stuff, a bunch of Cisco SD1 WebEx vulnerabilities. Here are a bunch of them. Yay! Switchzilla, so recurring theme here, how buggy and broken is this stuff? Like, yeah, I'm sorry to break the news. Stuff is a little bit buggy since decades already, since basically forever, which also why we want to spread here some best practices and new thinking. So Switchzilla says remote network gear is a grab bag of holes, so yeah, no surprise for us. Leave me in the comments below if it's a surprise for you. Cisco has issued a series of security updates for its SD1 WebEx software, and so yeah, as we listed, CVE 2020 3264, 3265, 3266, 16.0, this is 2019, 16.010, 2019 16.012, all are down to what Cisco calls insufficient input validation, exploiting a range of SQL and HTTP requests, so just the regular web stuff. And yeah, buffer overflow leading to code execution, just the regular C code, in case you're wondering why I don't recommend using C for anything anymore. And cross-site scripting, SQL injection, the regular stuff, you name it. As usual, yeah, maybe people ask me what I recommend to do. Yeah, leave me in the comments below what do you recommend to do. Probably I can only recommend run this stuff in sandboxes, although some of the stuff is maybe potentially hacking on Cisco server side. But yeah, run all the stuff in local sandboxes, Cubes OS, and certainly don't trust any of the stuff. And in general, I really don't like this loading binary executable plugin stuff for no good reasons. But in general, also my New Year resolution for this year is also run less of the stuff. So when I need to join meetings, I right now only join them with smartphones, with the smartphone app, where it's a little bit more sandbox isolated and it doesn't take over my Linux system or so with strange plugins that don't run on my Linux system anyway. Hackers breach FSB, contractor, and leak details about Internet of Thing hacking project, in case you're wondering how super secure is your stuff. So yeah, Internet of Stuff, not only not updated, and certainly usually after a year or two feature removed by the vendor when they don't want to support it anymore, but last but not least, your local government agencies hacking into this because data mining. Digital Revolution Hacker Group leaks details about Pwn2Own IoT botnet contractor was allegedly building for FSB, Russian's intelligence agency. So why, if you're wondering why I call against government backdoors, because yeah, not only does the government even pay people to break in, last but not least, backdoors never secure anyway. It always, even if the government would be perfect and only those super white-hat people would using it intentionally, it still could have bugs or could leak and so on. And yeah, and also why does the stuff need to be secure? Because if it's not super top-notch secure, and I probably come to the conclusion we need to really rethink how we do IT, because I said it before, another IT magazine has run an article, IT is not rocket science, it's also for women. I have two problems with it. The first problem is rocket science is also for women. Second problem is IT, in my opinion, is rocket science. The problem that we have with instability and vulnerabilities is exactly because we treat it like a sandbox where everyone can toy around. And if nothing against toying around, it's also what we do here on this channel, but we need to take this more seriously, from operating systems to user space to application stacks to databases to the whole connected world, and certainly last but not least Internet of Things, because otherwise the local government hacks into your light bulbs, toasters, coffee machines and garage door openers and cat feeding stuff. So yeah, 12 technical documents, if you are wondering, similar to the Snowden papers, certainly always good to keep in the back of your mind and remember this, what's going on with this stuff and governments and backdoors. In similar news, remote DOS attack, zero-day buffer overflow revealed here in Memcache D. If you were wondering, hey, let's just use some open source stuff written in, was it written? Probably written in C. We, by the way, can fact check that in Memcache D, which may or may not load, depending on how broken, apparently very broken, Memcache D, in case you were wondering how hammered this internet is. Come on, you can also find this pressing the right button, lib memcache D, which is this one. And most likely, usually, do we have this directly clickable? File not found. Fine, whatever. Anyway, proof fact check this another day. Most likely C, actually we see it here. So if you're wondering, just here our regular theme of good old-fashioned C code of why I do not recommend C for anything. Line 6179, spot the bug, which is this one. As usual, how could we do better? Even with C++, with properly used abstraction, this would be much harder to make such mistakes. Or Rust, other languages, you name it. Certainly, in my opinion, it is time to ban C for that. In similar news, it required for certain HPE SIS serial attached SCSI drives modules to prevent drive failure after 40,000 hours of operation. It's like, yep, we've not been there once, we have now been there twice, because if you were wondering, did we not had this bug like last year? Yes, we had. They done it again. The drives failed previously, per last year, 32,786 or so hours of 16-bit integer overflow, but now they also have, after fixing the 16-bit integer overflow, another bug of 40,000 hours. I also wonder, what do these vendors actually program? Can you trust this data? Can you trust this data there on those drives of those vendors who have such... how do you... I mean, if they get such basic stuff wrong, I wonder how their wear leveling of distributing the writes all over the SSD is buggy, and other command processing there. So yeah, I slightly wonder how amazing the stream is. I have the feeling not the most amazing, as there are not so many people tuning in and out. But yeah, that's what it is, this day and age with this broken internet. Speaking about broken internet and stuff, Google stops, due to adjust work schedules at this time with this virus pandemic going around there. Google is pausing upcoming Chrome and Chrome OS related vulnerabilities, and Google is not updating this. I have no idea, but there you have it, 2020 virus pandemic and update stops. Also, how amazingly stable is their software development best practice and update deployment here. So a train wreck that they already need to start a stop software updates just to be on the safe side, not to cause instabilities, people not being able to work remote. If you're wondering what is with other browsers, yeah, Microsoft doing the same. Here on Microsoft pauses Edge releases. You really need to wonder, but this is a recurring theme, certainly my impression. Windows updates broken. Chrome updates we had previous year broken, like when Chrome rolled out stuff, beta tested with open source people, and then data center stuff didn't work for Citrix, whatever. RDP stuff not working with, graphic stuff not working without graphic acceleration in Citrix or so environments. So yeah, this is because they can't deliver stable updates reliably, better not update them again. Certainly with the spread of digital security vulnerabilities and SaaS security issues, remote code execution and phishing and stuff, certainly a little bit of a questionable choice. I really call this here like total bullshit in my opinion. If they have big security implications, they certainly should deliver updates. Maybe test them more, maybe roll them out slower to just a very tiny percentage of 1% a day or something until over 5 days it's tested enough or something. But or just test your stuff yourself and not outsource it to the users to do their beta testing on the user side. But yeah, anyway, because how bad is the situation of recurring theme of security vulnerabilities and broken stuff? Ransomware gangs stop attacking health organizations during pandemic. Like, we reached a time, 2020, we reached a state in IT security where ransomware gangs already pleading each other not to attack critical infrastructure in an ongoing pandemic just because everything is so insecure. It's like, what timeline, what alternative Star Trek universe have we reached here? Some ransomware operators have stated that they will no longer target health and medical organizations, which also previous theme here, right, has happened a lot. And yeah, state of digital health security. So yeah, if you're wondering, state of internet, not our own internet here, totally busted. You have regulars here of this channel, the other main channel, I've seen it totally struggling. Even with this 5% drop frame, streaming with 3 Mbit. Probably I couldn't even stream. I hope the stream is at least somewhat okay-ish, because I couldn't even stream with like not even 3 Mbit over this, again, nominal 500 Mbit down and 150 Mbit up. Can't even get stable 3 Mbit. This 3 Mbit I only get somewhat stable with only 1700 frames so far and 5%, because I tunnel it through the data center. So not only the local DOCSIS shared coax cable segment totally congested, but also the peering there to YouTube. But yeah, how broken is it? It's so bad that not only we struggle, but normal users in terms of Netflix and YouTube are slowing down the video streaming in Europe to keep the internet from breaking. Yeah, totally seeing that. In the downstream is at us still, again, we have business, professional business. It's basically the fastest affordable internet we can get here. In the center of Berlin, in the heart of Germany or of Europe. And it's hilarious. And also, I told this Vodafone previously, Cable Germany, already since a year. It was for a year not amazing, but now it's totally broken. And also companies investing into infrastructure, it's a little, they only slow this down, allegedly, apparently defaulting to SD to more than half the bandwidth. However, users are still free of charge to change to HD. Certainly this is not very helpful. Also for me, I often updated this. Initially this was only Netflix, but yeah, also YouTube goes SD by default in Europe, allegedly in the meantime, maybe somewhere else also. But also Apple, if you're wondering, yeah, also if you're wondering where is the 80% of the internet bandwidth going here these days and age, of course, video streaming also really said you are abroad, on the road, working for customers, you need to secure shell somewhere, you need to remote desktop somewhere, and you can't on your LTE connection because everyone in the LTE cell around you needs to stream from some freaking Instagram TV, some Facebook video garbage, or TikTok or YouTube, Netflix, Apple TV, and you name it. A little bit waste. Also, in my opinion, it's a little bit sad state of society that many people, or most people, apparently struggle from what I see and hear on Twitter. I have so much to do. I have a year list. I've actually a decade list of to-do list. I mean, I can sit here all day, as you see apparently, not only do vintage and retro stuff, but Linux, open source, open hardware, FPGA, libraries, new languages. If I would just had the time and money, I would sit here, I would write a new microkernel. I wonder what people do with their life to have learn a music instrument, even invent some ideas of a new startup. I have no idea what normal people do at home, that they need to watch video all day. Just an inspiration for you. Maybe think about starting a company, make a business plan, play some music instrument, do some artwork, stitch some scarf together. I mean, the ideas are endless. Even my ideas here are endless. I really wonder why everyone needs only to watch YouTube. But certainly, if you want to watch YouTube, certainly share, like, and subscribe to these channels, because probably highest recommendation. Bernd's best connection still remains to be from sys11. I can check this. Welcome everyone. Also, thanks for the tip. I actually checked on this address, being that annoyed here by this, and I actually checked if the German Telekom has vectored VDSL here, and they don't. So I'm really surprised they even checked a second alternative site. So yeah, so much to that. Monopoles of bandwidth stuff, and if here's some cable stuff, then other companies don't invest in other alternative infrastructure because, yeah, YOLO, not enough profit there, or actually not enough profit for the bonus of the managers. But in more better news, NASA's at long last, NASA's probe finally digs into Mars there with some counterweight allegedly. Also, yeah, bugs on Mars. Our mole there not going into the Earth, but apparently no, it's going in a little bit more. So yeah, that's certainly, with all the crap news here on Earth, analog and digital, at least some good news. However, the bad news is NASA outsourced their 247 petabytes of data to AWS and forgot to calculate how much it costs them. So I have watering cloudy egress costs before liftoff. So hello, can use a calculator to calculate your cloud cost. Also, for all the people of, yeah, use it, put it in the cloud and be done with, is like, yeah, you have other people's outages, you don't have it under your control. Also, I heard that some cloud stuff is already congested now. Probably I could have put it into this news, but apparently in some Microsoft Azure you can't even book some stuff because it's overbooked and oversold. So if you want to grow with this stuff, maybe sometimes now in this day and age you can't. But yeah, pro tip, calculate your real costs with this cloud stuff, because as you see here, it could actually skyrocket literally here in NASA data. Also here, public data there on expensive clouds. And yeah, by the way, usually, especially big corporations like those, I mean, if you outsource your little data, that maybe for a small company, doing it a little bit distributed might be worthwhile. But if you grow some certain size, it's usually cheaper to do it yourself. Especially for something like NASA here. And because if you think about the infrastructure for this kind of data, I mean, obviously Microsoft or Amazon needs, or Google needs this infrastructure, and you pay the infrastructure plus their profit, so it's usually coming out more expensive. So yeah. Anyway, but leave in the comments below what you think, your pro tips and all this fun stuff. In similar pro tip stuff here, using Apple's CarPlay impairs driver reactions more than alcohol. Study shows of, yeah, how sad is the state. A little bit of a shout out, safety shout out you. So not only use some masks, wash your hands, but also don't play with Apple CarPlay and Google whatever, Android, Droid, car, whatever, auto, whatever that name is. But no surprise there. Touch stuff, you always need to look more, and yeah, I slightly wonder that with all the regulations that it's not more regulated. Certainly super dangerous. I saw multiple times already people doing strange stuff around me, nearly crashing into me left and right with, yeah, maybe playing with this, maybe not, maybe just otherwise irritated. But certainly with all the dangerous situations, probably you and I and everyone experience each day. Yeah, I wish people became more smart with this kind of stuff. And by the way, pro tip, life is worth more than playing with your Apple CarPlay for a minute or two. But yeah, in also similar, not as amazing news, how broken is this planet on top of this pandemic? Greenland's Melting ice raises global sea level by 2.2 millimeters in 2 months. In case you were wondering, is this all real or not? Like, yeah, 2.2 millimeters in 2 months. So yeah, we better start doing something for all these problems, not only IT security, but also some analog virus and environmental disasters waiting to happen. Just a little bit of overview of the most devastating news here from Windows, font parsing, remote code execution vulnerabilities to games without DRM. This is effort well spent. Not. It's funny. This is really funny. Anyway. So yeah, other exploits and viruses and broken internet. It's like, yeah, this stream brought to you by broken DOCSIS cable here. Congested 2000. So here, how long we rushed through this as usual. 28 minutes. Probably people busy anyway. Maybe this I need to check the quality, even how broken this was today. But yeah, still need to think about this format, if it is helpful or not, how we could do it better or not to make the most use of my and your time here. But yeah, looking for your comments as usual. And yeah, 28 minutes, how broken is internet for the future citizens out there in this day and age? DOCSIS cable, center of Berlin, as broken as 30 minutes streaming with only 3 Mbit over a VPN, because we over our own data center, tunneling it as secure shell, and 2056 dropped frames of only mere 3 Mbit. Can't make this stuff up. Although only 3.9%, which is certainly way better. Without VPN, we usually had 10 to 20% the last day. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. As usual, leave me in the comments below what you think about of this. But certainly with this kind of code also, I mean, I still wonder how professionals can still write this kind of C code in this day and age. As people ask me, what can they do to mitigate this? Certainly not use all of this stuff, like not install everything, install this in virtual machines, Cube's OS, and otherwise, in general, do not just blindly install everything. Although probably, honestly, theoretically, IT stuff needs to be as secure as that all normal Joe users could click everything randomly. Of course, you can always say it's the user's fault because he clicked this PDF, but honestly, clicking a document in an email client should be as unbreakable as, yeah, but unfortunately it isn't. And certainly with this kind of code, certainly you, with this Memcache D, run this on servers, this kind of memcopy open-coded buffer here of your size of header plus this, and then xlang of, yeah, what were they thinking? Also, cameras refocusing for that. Anyway, that's it for today. Camera even has enough, and the usual. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope you learned something. Hope to see you soon here for the next videos and updates. And as always, can't make this stuff up. Now we are out of focus. Also, hey, just as I touched it. No, anyway, hope you learned something, and I hope to see you soon for the next videos and live streams to come. And certainly the internet to unbreak again.